Hello everybody, my name is Wayne, and you're still watching Inside Fairlawn, and this is not one of my typical little segments. And as you are getting a chance to see, and also hear, there's a special memorial going on today, and the big reason why we're here, and going to talk to some people, is because we hope in the future we could maybe change a little bit of what's going on here. I have a few people here that aren't quite sure if they want to talk to me, but I think they're going to. I'm going to start over here. David Boone, sir.
How are you, Wayne?
Always good to see you.
Same here.
Your thoughts about why this was even being held here?
Well, I think this was a great place to do it, especially being in the church, and especially during this pandemic. I've had several funerals for overdose deaths, and it really hits home. And we need to get the word out, and we need to find some solutions to the problems that are going on, because this is the real epidemic.
Do you find that people sometimes can learn and maybe stop some of this from happening?
Absolutely. I think a lot of it's understanding, because a lot of people don't understand addiction. And once we can begin to educate people in understanding it, I think we can help a lot more people.
Well, we have a few people here who had gone through a bad time, but I just want to get your thoughts a little bit. First of all, just your first name.
Dee.
Having this be an event and seeing all those faces behind me and experiencing something yourself, how do you feel about something like this actually happening, what we're doing here today?
Well, I think that it's important to see the side of addiction. It's great when you can hear the success stories and know how impactful addiction can be on a person's life, and when you hear the success stories, but you also need to hear this side of the story. My son has gone 5 years now, and I feel it's very important to hear the side of what to do, what happens if you don't stay on your course of rehabilitation.
I think there's a path that sometimes wavers a little bit, and I would imagine that might be a common denominator with most people. But I'm glad you mentioned one thing. There could be a positive side to some of this too, and I think that's something that we all have to be careful about and try to work with. Thank you just for your thoughts for a second. First name.
Cheryl.
Your story, if I may ask.
I'm from Fairlawn. I'm a lifelong resident of Fairlawn. My son Eric died of a heroin fentanyl overdose 2 years tomorrow.
2 years tomorrow.
2 years tomorrow. And Dee and I met at the cemetery. Our boys are buried just a few feet away from each other. And Dee had started this project last year with about 50 posters, right? And she asked me if I would be interested in having my sons made a poster of my son, which I, of course, said yes to. And then I started coming and helping, and now I'm involved with it 100%, right?
Well, do you think there's something that we could really accomplish today by having people be aware of what we're seeing behind us?
Yes. I mean, if you take a look at these faces, these are kids. You know, we all have hopes and dreams for our children. And, you know, they were baseball players, they were musicians, they were just like everybody else's kids. And, you know, along the line, they made a mistake, and they paid for that mistake with their life. And we want to bring a face to addiction. That's our mission, to bring a face to addiction, to show you their beautiful faces, that, you know, they were kids just like everybody else's kids. We have the same memories.
And I think what's so important too, and so dramatic, is that the face is so much important than the printed name.
Yes.
And when you start to see that it's something that we all can relate to, I think.
Yes.
And it might just get more people to resolve and say, look, we got to get together and do something about this.
Yes.
And I think I never saw anything like this before. And is this something that might be happening more than once, by the way, Dave, here?
Well, they're actually doing this all over, and yeah, we could definitely do this again.
Yeah.
I think, especially when COVID's over, it'll be even more so needed.
Is it being held over in Jersey or maybe even throughout the country? Does anybody know about that?
This is actually our project that we started, but this
Good project.
we are driving anywhere in New Jersey and New York. It takes a lot to get this project set up and brought somewhere, so it takes 3 hours to set up, just, you know, the way you see it right now.
Let me ask you a question. How was it to get the pictures of everybody, just to try and get that accomplished? That had to be a major accomplishment itself. To find the people, then having them want to do that?
No, actually,
No?
500,000 people have died of a drug overdose in the past 10 years.
Oh my God.
So if you think about that number, there's 231 posters here today, and the requests come in daily. We have a Facebook page, and we're flooded all the time. Dee's flooded all the time with
Would that be a
requests.
way for others to reach out to you?
Yes.
how I found them,
Yes.
Facebook.
Yes.
Do you want to maybe say that so people could know how to find the page?
Yes, we have a Facebook page, the Black Poster Project. And if you go to that page, and just request to be added, I will add anybody to that page, and that's how the word spread. Over the past month, I think we have 1,000 followers already.
I was just mentioning to Dave earlier, a new business came to Fairlawn called the Addiction Center, which opened up on 208. And I was thinking to myself that perhaps if more people knew there was a place to go to, and I'm sure people know some of them, but the more places to go to for help, we may not have as many posters.
Well, that's our hope.
Try to get
Our hope
help,
is, maybe
right?
somebody tonight is walking through here with a problem. They have maybe they need help. We have a group with us, Alumni in Recovery, and actually they provide all our volunteers. And if anybody needs any help, they are here tonight. They are the recovery group that we work with, so
good.
they can
Okay.
approach them. And I believe tonight, the Fairlawn Alliance for Drug.
With Carol Ranick,
Yeah, she's
the
coming
health
tonight,
department,
and the
yes.
Bergen County Sheriff's Office is supposed to be here as well.
Good, good.
And the police department, right? Yeah.
And I see some of our local channels, also Channel 12 is here, which is great.
Yeah.
Just a thought, and I don't even know where to start with you.
My name's Carol, and I'm from Massachusetts. and
From
these-
Massachusetts.
These are my 5 children that I've lost to this crisis.
5.
5.
I can't imagine the vibe and the feelings that you have, but thank you for being here to maybe try and share some of the thoughts.
I'm very honored to be here, and I think that in order for this crisis to really change, that we need to kind of change the way we look at addicts and the treatments they get. I mean, I come from Massachusetts, so in Massachusetts, like where I live, to get on the methadone clinic, you can only get on Tuesday. You have to be there at 5 a.m. in the morning, they only take 12 people.
Seriously.
And then if you're number 13, what they say is come back next week. Well, that doesn't work because the addict who has just decided, I really want to get off it, can't wait a week. My son, Doug, probably suffered the most. He had 10 overdoses before he died.
Oh, my goodness.
We were able to save him every time with Narcan. The last time we weren't so lucky. I had talked to him at the top of the stairs. I told him he had weaned off of methadone, which I didn't want him to do. He said, no, Mara, I'm okay. I said, I think you were high yesterday. He said, no. I went downstairs. 10 minutes later, he was dead on my kitchen floor. So I think that we need to change how we treat it. We need to look at other countries. Portugal, for example, last year had only 17 overdose deaths. Because what they did was they decriminalized the addict who's holding the little bag of heroin. Instead of them getting arrested and going to jail and have to come up with bail and go to drug court,
They tried to help him first.
they try to help them first. What happens is when the addict gets arrested for that and then they give him a drug test at the court, what they say is, oh, you failed, now we're going to put you in jail. In Massachusetts, they do nothing in jail to help them. They don't bring their methadone to them. They don't bring this Suboxone. Some of the county jails are now, if you're there more than 30 days, when you leave, they'll give you a Vivitrol shot to help you start on your way. But I think that even in the rehabs, if they're in there and they sneak a cigarette, that's it, you're out the door. I think they need to have a little more compassion and a little more understanding. I think that we need to understand that these addicts are people just like us, okay? And addiction is not just drugs. Addiction is a lot of things. A little story is I was at Dunkin' Donuts, and there was 2 women standing in front of me. I was right behind them. And this woman, I'll call her Mary, said to them, did you hear about Susie's son? He overdosed and died. And her first answer was, well, that's his own fault. He did drugs. Of course, now steam's coming out of my ears.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And in her next breath, she said, but I wish they would hurry up in this line because if I don't have my coffee, I cannot function. I turned around, I walked in front of her and told her an addict. I got applauded by one man, I got hugged by another woman. So it's a serious problem, but we need to understand that they need, in Norway, they give them housing first. In the Netherlands, they do the same thing Portugal does. So we lose 72,000 a year, and those countries lose 10. Switzerland actually opened up heroin clinics. They actually gave them the heroin. And they would let them have as much as they want up to a fatal dose. They wouldn't let them have. Their crime is now down 75%. Their overdose death rate is down more than 75%. And more than 50% of the addicts have now been into full recovery. they're in houses, and they don't penalize them and put that on them forever. So when they get arrested, he's been arrested. Joseph's been arrested. I'm sure lots of these kids have been arrested for stupid things. And that stays with them forever. So when they go to get a job, the guy says, oh, you were arrested for stealing? I don't want to hire you. So they need to decriminalize it. I'm not saying, and they also need to, my feeling is that when the drug dealers are selling drugs and they get arrested, not allow them to bargain down to, oh, this is my personal use stuff. There should be a set of penalties and no bargaining out of it. I think you need to make drug dealers say, I better not sell drugs there because I could go to jail for a long time. In Massachusetts, they bargain. I don't know, that was my personal use. No, it's not your personal use. You're a drug dealer. You may also take drugs, but you're out there selling it. I miss my children. I still have one that's in the methadone clinic, and I have one that just relapsed and just went into a detox today. He said he did. I don't know if he did because he doesn't always tell the truth, which they don't. But the bottom line is they're human beings, they're kids like you, me, and everyone else here, and we need to change that. Because not only are these children affected, I'm sure some of these people had children. In Massachusetts, we have 100,000 children that no longer have parents. Their grandparents are now raised, and those are the lucky children that have someone to take them. The unlucky ones end up in the foster care system. And when they're 18, they take them and there's like, you're done. No, the whole system needs to be changed.
I think a big part of that change comes from people like yourself that's going around and being part of this so that
Absolutely.
others could learn from it.
And I just did an interview with WGBH Radio in Boston at the beginning of September. It was a very short interview, but the Mary Blake, the reporter, had done an interview with me in 2014 when my son Stephen died for a different radio station. And she stayed in touch with me, so when Andrew died, she was there for me again. But we do need to change it.
Well, we're
And
all here for you
all
now.
of us mothers that are here who have lost children, we can't bring these children back. We're trying to save someone else's child. There's the bottom line. I'm trying to save your child or his child. I want that.
We all do, and that's why it's so important for you to take the time and have the ability to come out and talk to us about it. Everybody's story is as emotional as personal, but not everybody could talk about it. And the more we talk, the more we could possibly help people.
And we need to change the laws. You know, a lot of it is, the big pharmaceuticals need to be held accountable. Yes, they do, but the bottom line is they're really not going to get held accountable. We know that by now. They're not going to hold them accountable. Purdue was able to file bankruptcy. They're not going to be held accountable. So we need to go past that. Let's hold them accountable. We need to change it. We need to change doctors getting automobiles and trips and money for prescribing their drugs. We need to change all those laws so those things don't happen anymore. And that's the only way we're going to save the future children. Because right now in America, they estimate there's, 10 million addicts? That's a lot. That's a lot.
Thank you for talking with me.
Thank you
I
for
know
being
it's not
here.
the easiest thing, but we all want to be able to share the emotion and share the ability to understand that there are some ways we could change it.
There definitely are.
And we don't have to have all these posters here in the future again. Thank you for taking this trip. I'm sure you're still going to be on the road for a little bit more. God bless you, and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for being here for us.
We're going to help.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out to honor all these beautiful people that we see in the pews out here. I just came from back there, and I saw this poster that said, "When life gives you more than you can stand, kneel." And I've been doing a lot more of that lately. And I'm just so grateful to be here and to be able to just talk to you guys a little about cause that is close to my heart, and that my favorite guy told me that, his house is, it's, he asked, do healthy people need a doctor? No. This place is a hospital. It's a hospital for the broken. This is where sick people come when they're seeking to be made whole. And, I'm just happy to be able to be here to share with you guys a song that is all about who he is, because his grace is more than a feeling. It's alive, and he wants to cover all of you, all of us, with it. So here it goes. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, we have already come. 'Tis grace that leads us here thus far, and grace will lead us home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we'll have no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved